Guys, I'm fit this week. So far, once again, bring us a Warhammer video. But look at, was the Emperor of Mankind good or evil? My opinion, I mean, it's Warhammer, so everyone's inherently evil, but I don't think he was inherently evil or good. I say like he was like more neutral, but I mean, it's Warhammer. I mean, he's done a lot of bad shit, a lot of good shit. So I mean, you know, he's still the Emperor. I mean, his whole goal is make humanity better and continue on the golden age, but sadly the horse heresy kind of bit him in the butt, and that kind of his fault too. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what Major Kill says. He brings a lot of good points to the table. I'm curious to see kind of route he goes on this. So, like always, please check him out in the description. Some love. You guys want content. You guys want actions. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get to it.
As in Gal, if anyone was said to be the Warhammer 40,000, it would be the Emperor. But just
Sure.
like 40,000 Warhammers, it's unclear if he was a force for good or a force for evil. If you give 40,000 Warhammers to a bunch of baby killers...
I think what I would say the Emperor, he's not inherently good or evil. He's more in like the neutral sense into what Warhammer really is. Because everyone in reality is evil in Warhammer to a point. His interest was to make humanity as good as possible at any cost. Even basically neglected some of his sons, the Primarchs. He could have done things better. He definitely wasn't the good guy per se, but I don't think he was 100% evil though either. I think he's like more towards the neutral side, but again, that's in like neutral in Warhammer type of thing. So neutral evil, maybe.
Then evil. If you give them to a bunch of pedo hunters, then good. Okay, not the best metaphor, but you know what I mean. The Emperor's done a lot of questionable things. He's widely considered to be a pretty terrible father, has directly caused the death of countless sextillions of humans, and has driven many alien races, some peaceful and innocent, into extinction. But it's not so black and white as that. Do the ends justify the means? Is it better to live in a grimdark society than to be destroyed? Was it only through the acts of evil that goodness can be maintained? It makes for an interesting discussion for sure. Before we get started, it's really not hard to get in shape. It just takes a bit of thought about once playing trial and error, consuming it for my workouts and reps, data and by intentions and actions, as well as how we evolved to determine what shade of good or evil the Emperor actually was. Let's get into it.
Interesting to see what he says here.
The Emperor may not have held Uncle Ben's hand as he lay dying, but he knew that with great power came great responsibility. The Emperor was born as the greatest of the Perpetuals, immortals with immense power. A peaceful, chill life was never on the cards for him, especially since he could see the future, and the future looked grim as hell. The galaxy was full of nasty shit, like the Orcs, Dark Eldar, the Crave, the Enslavers, and even the literal forces of hell. The Emperor knew that the only way for mankind to survive such a galaxy was to become strong and wage bloody wars for conquest. However, here is where the first ethical issue pops up. When mankind first struck out at the stars, we were very powerful. The Emperor was biding his time in the shadows, allowing mankind to spread throughout the stars with our amazing technology as well as our AIs. Now, he did know we would eat shit and have an AI uprising, but he allowed it to happen as far as we're aware. This war would break mankind apart, massively depowering us and leaving us vulnerable from when the galaxy-wide warp storms would appear due to the Eldar murder fucking Slanesh into existence. This would be known as the Age of Strife. As far as we can tell, the Emperor was actually pretty chill with all of this, like it was a part of his plan. After all, if you present yourself as a shining golden figure with a flaming sword to a bunch of advanced humans who could open up black holes for a laugh, you'd probably get laughed at for your gay cosplay and primitive tech. But if you did it to a bunch of humans who had just endured 5,000 years of horror and devolution, they would probably think you're the coolest cat on the block. Mankind needed to be weak for the Emperor to take control of it. So you could definitely argue that it was evil to allow mankind to eat dicks during the Age of Strife, so they would be primed for you to take control. But to counter that, if the only destiny in which mankind thrived required them to first fall in the Age of Strife, then it could be argued that the Emperor did what he needed to do and was not just going for an opportunistic power grab. There's even some theories that the Emperor initiated the AI uprising to create the conditions for his ascension, but that is getting quite tinfoil hatty. In a similar vein, the Emperor did lie to Mars in order to manipulate them into thinking he was their Jesus, thus offering their services to him and his Imperium. However, confusingly, it technically may not have been a lie, since it was the Emperor who beat up the Void Dragon, locked it on Mars, and let its dreams seep into the Martian Martian people that created the cult of the Mechanicum. So him being its Jesus is actually pretty accurate, as long as you don't talk about the dragon sleeping under Mars part of things. But once again, it's the
Still
moral
there.
dilemma of, is creating a fake religion to manipulate a culture of people into doing your bidding evil if your bidding is to protect and preserve those people? It's clear the Emperor will do what he must in order to achieve his goals. Now for a bit of a character test. The Emperor originally gathered most of the natural-born perpetuals to him. He told them of his ambition to nurture and care for mankind, crushing evil and chaos wherever it may be found. Many of the perpetuals, wise as they were, agreed with his ambition and plan and helped him. However, one by one they realized the infinite scope of his true design, the obscene galactic wars and crusades he would need to launch in order to secure mankind's future. So they balked. Some went into hiding, some directly opposed him, and eventually all but to abandon him. The first that stayed true was Malkador, who understood the necessity of the Emperor's plan, no matter how destructive it was, and the next was Aliva Sarika, the perpetual woman the Emperor left on Molech to protect the warp gate he entered when he gained the power he needed to make the Primarchs. Alivia probably would have ditched him as well if she didn't spend thousands of years away from him on Molech. So yeah, not a great look when humanity's best and brightest think you're the galaxy's biggest megalomaniac. From here, the Great Crusade will kick off, mankind once again exploding from its birth world to spread the galaxy's cheeks and commence the clapping of all claps. The Emperor was a lot like Julius Caesar in his conquest style. Any human world that joined the Imperium peacefully was welcomed with open arms. Even those that resisted were generally not just annihilated out of hand, they merely had their armies defeated and their cities conquered. Their people were allowed to live and join the Imperium. It was only when the humans were mutated or twisted beyond saving and engaged in especially evil or dishonorable warfare did the Imperium bring down the hammer and crush them entirely.
I mean,
yes, there definitely was some...
that's kind of justified just because of the fact that chaos and people, especially humans, can get kind of influenced quite easily by chaos, and they turn to something that's not inherently human anymore. So if that's the way he's comparing it, then I can kind of see that. I mean, destroying and decimating planets and whatnot is not really the best way to do it, but I mean, they're beyond saving. If anything, they'll just spread their chaos to other people and just turn into an infection per se. So, I mean, I guess, but I mean, it's Warhammer. I mean, there's nothing ethical about it, so...
compliance campaigns where the Imperium acted extremely uncoolly, such as the Iron Hands and Emperor's children tracking down a nomadic fleet of peaceful humans and aliens who just wanted to be left alone, or when the Lunar Wolves came to an alien world where the aliens abhorred war, so they settled their battles in arenas. When the aliens gathered in their arena to challenge the Lunar Wolves just blew up the arena and killed the aliens from orbit. The genocide of many of the galaxy's Xeno species was definitely the most controversial part of the Great Crusade. However, the Imperium didn't necessarily have a kill all Xeno policy. Peaceful Xenos were allowed to become client states of the Imperium, like the Jakeru. There was also multiple instances of peaceful interaction between the Imperium and the Eldar. However, it was case by case. The Emperor allowed each Primarch to conquer the galaxy how they saw fit. Some Primarchs, like Angron, had an extermination policy. Others, like Gilliman, were known to achieve a huge amount of diplomatic compliances. The Primarchs also had varying degrees of xenotolerance. Ferrus was infamous for his zero tolerance, whereas Horus actively tried to befriend the Interrex, a Xeno and human empire. So as long as the Primarchs were conquering, the Emperor didn't give a f, did it. As a father, the Emperor was definitely inconsistent. For some sons, like Horus, he spent years side by side with them, creating an incredible bond. For others like Angron, he fucked them over hard, forced them into servitude, and upon discovery that Angron was dying due to the butcher's nails, the Emperor just shrugged and said, "A broken Primarch is better than no Primarch." It's often believed that if the Emperor just paid a bit more love and attention to his sons, a lot of the Horus Heresy nonsense could have been avoided. For some sons though, he really went above and beyond. For example, Vulcan was actually one of the Emperor's favourites because out of all the
That's my
Primarchs, Vulcan truly had compassion and kindness. He was very human, and whilst other Primarchs like Jagadai and Sanguinius were noble and kind, Vulcan took it to a whole nother level. He didn't feel disdain and disgust for mortals like most of his brothers did. As such, the Emperor actually would appear to Vulcan numerous times as a psychic projection of someone humble, like a remembrancer, and would help Vulcan to maintain his cool and compassion in difficult times, such as the war against the Eldar on Caldera, or keeping Vulcan sane when he was imprisoned by Conrad Kurz. He didn't need to do these things for Vulcan to maintain his purpose. He did it because he valued compassion. The Emperor's greatest goal was the Imperial Webway project. The Emperor wanted to help guide humanity in its ascension to become a psychic race while protecting it from chaos. That is pretty selfless and noble if you ask me. The Imperium during the Great Crusade, although demanding, was also in a bit of a golden age. Standard of living wasn't terrible, with there even being large-scale projects planned that would terraform Imperial worlds into verdant and lush paradise worlds. There was literally a plan for after the Crusade to restore Terra back to a biodiverse, beautiful world. The Emperor even had a massive, beautiful secret garden made with 20 Primarch-sized houses, implying that he wished to retire with his sons when their work was finished. When the Webway project failed and the Emperor's future predictions fell into disarray, day, he actually became the hero he always wanted to be. That is because he wasn't trying to chase this Golden Age fate anymore. He no longer knew what he had to do, so he just did what he thought was best. During the Siege of Terra, the Emperor actually began focusing his might on helping individual guardsmen, spending his strength to perform divine intervention to save mortal humans or inspire them and give them courage. Not because it was going to make a difference in the siege, but because he loved humanity. When Malcador had to ascend the steps to sit on the Golden Throne, an act that would kill him, the Emperor was shattered. His closest friend was about to give his life for the Emperor because of the Emperor's own failure. The Emperor then radiates sadness from then on to a point where other people can feel it around him. Whenever someone refers to Malcador as the Sigilite from then on, the Emperor corrects them and tells them it's Malcador the hero. The Emperor then fights Horus, knowing it will break him, and despite winning the fight, he then willingly sits upon the Golden Throne, knowing that every moment from now on will be complete agony, yet he does it anyway in order to keep mankind for as long as he can. At any moment, the Emperor can give up and let himself finally rest, but he chooses to endure endless torment for mankind. The Imperium in its current grim, dark and horrific state was not the ambition of the Emperor. He sought a golden age for all of humanity, everyone living in paradise, no more wars, no more suffering. It was the workings of chaos and the weakness of men that created the current shitty conditions. We can't really determine his moral compass since becoming Galactic Skeletal Battery Man, since he is now more akin to a celestial entity than a man these days. However, he still seems hell-bent on protecting mankind and crushing chaos, so there's that. Overall, I wouldn't say the Emperor was an evil nor a benevolent man, in a similar way to how the Worm Emperor in Dune acted as a tyrant in order to follow the Golden Path, that being the only future in which mankind would survive. The Emperor did what he needed to do in order to ensure mankind's survival. He was ruthless and he made mistakes, but he wasn't a malicious or evil man. As soon as his golden path was obscured and he had to act purely off instinct with his own mind, the Emperor became significantly more humanized, compassionate, and morally good, sacrificing himself for humanity and actively trying to save the lives of those he cared about, like a Lannis person. Also, you cannot read the passage of Malcador sitting upon the Golden Throne without shedding a tear. Shit makes it rain. The best leaders are rarely the kindest. If you enjoy
That was really good, man. I mean, I was kind of right about how I was thinking about the Emperor. You know, like I said, he's done a lot of good things, a lot of selfless things, and a lot of bad mistakes that kind of led to, you know, the Horus Heresy and just a lot of the negative that happened with the Imperium. So I mean, like, you know, he's done both. He's done a lot of good and a lot of bad. Like I said, I still think of him more as like neutral in the Warhammer universe. Like, he's not neutral like on an actual scale, because again, everything in Warhammer is for the most part pretty evil. But when it comes to Warhammer scaling, I put him more like the neutral side, like not good, not evil, just neutral. He's done a lot of good, a lot of bad. But it was great video game by Major Kill. I enjoyed it a lot. So please check him out in the description and show him some love. If you guys enjoy my content, if you guys enjoy my reactions, please don't forget to like, subscribe. See you guys next one. Take it easy.